Okay, good morning, everyone. Once again, thank you for being with us here. It is a Tuesday, May 19th, 2026. And as we start every day, this is the daily audio edition to the Daily Trade Strategy Briefing. Again, NFA compliance rule 2-29C subparagraph 1. All right, there are your disclaimers. Accept them or not accept them. Your choice. All right, satisfies the regulators and the attorneys. My attorney says I have to run that twice a day. I said, well, I'm not really here in the afternoon. So, all right, good enough. What do we have? We have a cycle day 3. Now, this is interesting here so far because um, price is currently below the cycle day 1 low, which is at 74.09. So this is the CD1 low. So, all right. Of course, statistics are, statistics are just that, right? Statistics, past tense, but they give us a window view into, past performance, right? So I believe the statistics right now is 92.50 something. So call it 92 and a half. 92.5%. That price is greater than the CD1 low, right, on CD3. Now and this kind of goes, I pretty much benchmark it. I mean, it's technically it's as long as it's there during the 24-hour session, but I kind of prefer it during the RTH, a little bit more, meaningful if it's there above during RTH. Right now, though, I mean, again, overnight we did pop above that, so, you know, but ideally we want that price back above during RTH. So right now we're currently below that level, and that really becomes our marker, right, for today. I mean, the line in the sand here. Remember, the line in the sand that I write is plus or minus 5. All right, so what did I have? I had 74.15. It could have easily been 74.20, the close, or it could have been 74.10, which we had yesterday. Okay, so don't sweat it too much, right? Always kind of think about, in this case, it's 74.15, right? Plus or minus 5. And again, the idea is, for me anyways, right? Everything is zonal. There's no singular line in the sand, even though we say that's a line in the sand. So just keep that in mind, all right? Market's much more dynamic than just one line. Okay, that being said, overnight, again, the initial targets were 74.40. The lower target, I mean, and again, we scale up, and then 73.85, which both got tagged, all right, overnight. So now, though, coming in, that's past tense. So now coming in, what's the lean coming in today? Well, one could say it's somewhat neutral overnight, but again, as we enter the opening, okay, what's the current lean? All right, so the current lean is down. Should be straight, should be somewhat fairly straightforward there, right? Take a look at, another things to kind of think about in terms of references, right? Questions, and in terms of the lean. Um, is price above or below the prior close, right? So things that you can use as references, prior close, right? Is price above or below? All right. Whopper, right? Not McDonald's. VWAP, right? Is price above or below VWAP? What's the angle of the VWAP? Slope, okay? Doesn't have to be super acute, but what's the slope? You can see here, right, the slope clearly visually, right, is trending, and it's the trend of it, right? It's not just one data point, right? But it's the trend. Trend is down. Okay, price is right. Again, this is right. We're talking about price here, right? So is price above or below point prior close, right? VWAP. Point of control is going to be the dynamic point of control intraday is going to be moving. So we may want to reference a POC from the prior POC, right? So POC, prior POC, right? Again, value high, right? Value low. All right, so these are just references that can give you some perspective. All right, and in addition, you may want to add, right, the 3 minute, right, A10. That's usually a pretty good reference as well. So by putting this all together, just asking a simple question, you can even make a little checklist for yourself. Okay, where is price relative to these areas? And they may not all be immediately on the same side, but again, you have some reference. Okay, so all this is, just trying to decide, oh, again, another thing would be, the prior high, prior low. Okay, not just prior close, prior high, prior low. In other words, right, is there a gap unfolding? Okay, so these are all just references. Not one necessarily is more important than the other, but kind of think about them, collectively. All right, and then the last one we can throw in there is the daily pivot, right, which is the central pivot zone. Okay, so put those things together, come up with some sort of, lean, and then we take it from there. So right now, I'm not going to go into each one of those, right? But you can reference those. And so right now, the lean favors to the downside. And that means at this stage, if we get some, bounces, we'll be looking for shorts until there's what? Until there's a bullish shift. Okay, pretty easy, right? Sounds easy. The more you do it, the more you practice, uh, the more you will begin to see. And of course, as always, we want to frame out as the market unfolds. All right. So look back and say, okay, what would be some pivot highs that the market would need to get through, or some references. So you got pivot highs right up here around the 05s. You got VWAP, you got 810. That becomes that key reference at this stage, right? So bulls would at least need to clear it, convert it to upper support in order for a shift to continue to unfold. All right. All right. That's the skinny on the mini. All right. Let's see what Mr. Market has in store for us today. Hopefully, Mr. Market is good to us, and be good to yourself. Again, if you follow some protocol, repeatable protocol, all right, that keeps you grounded in what to be looking for on a daily basis, right? So we're always looking for this, similar things every day. But if you're all over the place because the market's all over the place, then you're not grounding yourself in any way. So, but I know you all know this, but again, always good to repeat. Members have told me to keep repeating, so I am doing that. I'm happy to hear reminders, Steve Nine says. Yeah. Yeah, my wife tells me that all the time. Reminders. When my wife says, remember this, remember that. I'm not so sure those are the reminders I'm looking for. Anyways. All right. Hey, crude oil. Right out of the gate here this morning. All targets fulfilled on that on the crude oil opening. All right. So for you guys in the crude arena, you got smashed pretty quickly. Good morning, Mark. Thank you for being here as always. All right. So that's the outline right now. Today is not a wild card day at at this stage. All right. Since price is below the cycle day one low, all right, we want to see that get recovered. Potentially looking for a rally. We'll see. You know, I thought we would get a little bit more follow through than we did um, late yesterday into this evening or into last Globex, but we did get a little pop, but it faded pretty quickly. All right, yeah, you got to keep an eye on the 10-year. I mean, that, you know, again, there's a lot of chatter about that. Above 4.5% is kind of a marker for a lot of people. So keep an eye on that. Yeah. Yep. 10-year yield. You can also watch the what is it? The TLT ETF. Oh no, that's the 20-year, right? What's the 10-year on the ETF? TLT is the 20. I'll look it up. Oh, TVC for the yields. Okay, good. Thanks, Libby. No, wait a minute. What's the symbol on that? Oh, it is TVC. Tango Victor Charlie. Hmm. Oh, IEF. Okay, that's a 7-10 year is IEF. Libby, what's the symbol for the for that one that you have? Is it Tango Victor Charlie? I'm getting Tennessee Valley Authority. All right. Anyways, just keeping not sure pulling that. Oh, a trading view. Okay, got it. That's a trading view, so that's not TVC. Got it. Not a problem. I don't have trading view. I'm probably one of the only people that doesn't have trading view. All right. Again, some areas to think about for a trade. You get the 810. All right. A little bit above. All right. So 73.98-ish. Okay. So I'm not the only one. Yeah. I don't have Trading View. Again, that's just another platform I got to pay attention to. I get too many things to pay attention to. All right. Again, up there near the 810 and VWAP, that would be an area for the market to kind of tango out. We'll see if it does. All right. Crude oil starting to come off a little bit. That helps the ES give a little bid. Oh, yeah, exactly. No question. Yeah, yeah. Sierra chart's the best. Sierra chart by far is the best. All right, so again, we are looking for potential short up near the 98s into the VWAP zone area. Other than that, we don't really have, we just kind of, oops, sorry about that. Gotta bar period, 1 second. Okay. Of course, we get NVIDIA tomorrow. Um, Big Daddy there tomorrow, earnings after the close. And of course, as I mentioned yesterday, it was as it was reported, POTUS is not taking any action overseas, at least temporarily. So that kind of gave the market a little bit of a boost there. But a retest of yesterday's kind of POTUS low pop, right, is taking place here against the 80s in the prior low. And you are up to date. Now, if the market can give us some rotational action, that would be great. And not just waffle. Again, for those new with us watching, again, we're looking for more structural, uh, patterns to unfold. We're not super scalpers here. If you are a super scalper, go right ahead. But we wait for a little bit more structural locations. And if you're a super scalper, I mean, there are many, 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 many trades that you can do during the day. We, on the other hand, are looking more for more structural, directional plays, and sometimes that takes a while for things to unfold. And if that's not your bailiwick, then if you're impatient, then that's fine. But we are very, very patient here. We know where we're looking to take a trade structurally, and we're patient for that to unfold. We're not upset if market moves down like it did. I said, oh man, I guess I could have shorted it there. Right? Many people say that type of stuff. Well, if you could have shorted it there, was it part of your plan? And if it's not part of your plan, you didn't miss anything. But people that don't have a plan, They're just like, flowing with the whim of the market. Okay, oh man, I could have done this, I should have done that. Right? Those are the ones that get in trouble. So trade your plan, be patient. There's nothing better than a well laid out plan and that's executed properly and then plays out, right? I mean, if you think of all the sports out there, right? Choose your best sport, right? Whatever it is. I mean, there's always, a plan. Right? So no different for us. You should always have a plan running and executing your plan. I know it's easier said than done, but keep that in mind. All right. So a break of the prior low. Let's kind of outline a scenario here. If price breaks the low and sustains an offering, all right, uh, we're going to look the next target below a break of the low will be down towards the D level, 62s. Also, another thing that, again, while we're waiting for a setup structure, all right, always another thing to keep in mind is what is the daily range? What's the 10-day daily range? Right now it's around 82. So up here on the top left chart, you'll see the 10-day range 82. Okay, that's the active 10-day range, 10-day true range. So what you can do with that, a couple things you can do with that, the way some people measure it is you take that range. So if you take a look at our chart here, let me just show you our chart and what we do while we're waiting for a setup there. You take that 10-day range, okay, and you project that right off the high, okay. This is what this indicator does. So when you project that off the high, right, this is 100%, okay, of the range off the high. Um, that's how we do it, right? On the flip side, though, some people, what they'll do is they'll take the 10-day average true range and then they'll project it off the close. That's a valid way to do it as well. And then some people will actually measure that 10-day average range from the open. So this will be Globex opening. Oh, I'm sorry, the Globex. Yeah, all right. So, there's a couple different ways, I mean, to do that. So the idea there is, having an understanding of, how far has the market traversed based upon the 10-day average range. All right. Why is that important for you? Because it's important for you because there are factions out there that monitor this stuff. And when the market gets, towards the 10-day average range, there's usually some sort of a response. All right, so that could kind of play into a potential trade for you. Just having an understanding of what others may, what they're looking at and what they may, what type of action they be taking. Because if you're not aware of what the ranges are, you're really, you're at a disadvantage. So something to keep in mind. All right, the ATR 10 has rotated lower, ratcheted. We call it ratcheting. Ratcheted lower. Let's see if the 90 area would have nice to have got a trade up towards the 98s there, but kind of fell short of that. Let's see if we get another bounce and a roll over here. And notice what happened at the prior low, right? What would be your expectation as prices, right, went down towards the prior low? Have an expectation, not a prediction, but have an expectation. Little pop below the low. What would you expect, right, to unfold there? All right, buyers to step in. All right, we got a, what happened there? Right. All right, there's your A10 playing out. All right, let me move the stop down there. All right. All right, that was a quick trade off the A10. That worked out. And that was the ATA, Auto Trade Assistant, that triggered that one off. I have no idea. All right, so that was again, that A10 played out. All right, so that was good. Let's see now. Now the market's shifting back up. All right, so post that up. I can't answer you right now. All right. All right, so we got a bullish shift here temporarily anyways, and so we'll be shifting over to the long side. Let's see how that plays out for us. All right, so just hanging out around the VWAP here. From the bullish end, we're gonna look for dips here to play the long side a little bit. Further upside, more aggressive upside would be getting price above the 74.05. So greater than 74.05s, we should see some acceleration higher, or if it clears and converts. Otherwise, we're kind of still just kind of in this in the zone. So the sandbox here now after the first 30 minutes. All right, let's frame out the sandbox. All right, so sandbox is there 73, 75 to 74.05. All right, so let me mark that up here 1 second. Okay, that's our sandbox 73, 75, 74.05. All right. So what does that mean? That means that price, that's our playground, right? Just like a kid's sandbox. And again, to get expansion above or below would need to take out, right, either of those levels, and what we call clear and convert of those levels. Otherwise, we're kind of just stuck within that sandbox. But we'll see how this plays out. All right, so that's the frame out right now. All right, we got an A10 on the long side here. Let's see if this one plays out. First one played out on the short. Let's see if this one plays out here on the long on the pullback. All right, A10 long is working. What time was that? 49. All right, so stop trail on that one. Two targets out, and stop trail elected at break even. So we're good on the A10, on one on the short, one on the long, and we're back to flat at the moment. So far so good today. right, and then we're rotating back down now. Build 15. All right, so currently back to just neutral positioning right now, and kind of just waiting for the next structural play. All right, so guys, just kind of sitting here right now, um, positionless, if that's a word. All right, you guys are down at the D level now, right? And we're down to the 100% of the 10-day average true range we talked about earlier, down to the 56s. Everybody sees that on the left-hand side? Give us a thumbs up if you do. Okay, good. That's this over here. Okay, so D level, ATR. All right, so what we're at least expecting some sort of a buy response from this area here. All right, look at that, right to the 56s. It's just voodoo. That's all it is. Now again, can you take a speculative long, trade off of those levels? Sure. Again, if it's part of your plan, right? Voodoo made me 5 points, Steve Nine says. There you go. Right? Again, you see the idea of just, preparation, right? Having some understanding. It's like, okay, where's the 10-day average range? Okay, it's, 84 points, and that would be 56. So the market is, move the distance of a 10-day average true range, right? And again, so in and of itself, that could be meaningful or meaningless to you, depending upon what meaning you're putting on it, right? So if the meaning that you put on it as well, I've noticed that prices of, when they go the distance of an average range, we get some sort of a bounce. So this would be another kind of opportunity for you to go and do some research, because you can easily figure out what the average true ranges are, and you could say, okay, how far, again, asking the question, how far typically does price move within the context of a 10-day average range on a daily basis? How's that? What's the typical distance that price moves on a daily basis relative to the 10-day average true range? So you ask that type of question, you can find an answer for that. Well, on this particular day, it went, X distance. On that another day, it went this distance. And then you track those distances, right? And then when you have enough of those distances, you can say, well, what's the average distance that price typically moves on a daily basis versus the average true range? Does everybody see where I'm tracking on that? And then you'll have some metrics as to what has been the rhythm of range relative to the average range, 10-day average range. They'll be different. And so then you do is you compare today's active range or active trading relative to the range. It won't always necessarily go to the 100% of the range as it did today. Maybe we'll go 75%, maybe we'll go 80%, maybe we'll go 50%. Again, you can gauge what the rhythms today is versus the average range rhythm. That can give you some perspective. And what Steve wrote here, right? The voodoo just made him 5 points, right? Well, again, it's understanding that, hey, I'm going to buy something, at that 56 to see if we get a bounce. See if we get some sort of reversal off of that, right? That becomes the play. You're making a bet. That's all you're doing, right? Yeah, 12-point bounce now, right? And now we have the ATR4 shift. So this is what I'm talking about. When you understand, and that's why all these levels, have, again, it's the meaning that you place on them, but not only the meaning, but doing some research about how they respond. What's been the response from these? If you don't do that research, you don't know. You're just shooting in the dark. Having some research, having some metrics on it allows you to at least make a bit more of an informed decision, does it not? Yeah. Now, this is just a different example that I'm using today in terms of the 10-day average true range. But it could be anything. The process is the same. It's how you frame the question to what you're trying to get an answer to. Again, that's what leads you, you know. And this is not about, you're spending, all your time, data mining, but there is a level of data mining that, again, I would say that's probably required of all traders if you're trying to find an answer to something, And again, the answer that you may come up with may not be an actionable answer. As a matter of fact, it may lead you to say, you know what, I thought this would be, I had some idea, but on the hypothesis, but I can't prove the hypothesis to my, liking. That's, has some efficacy to it. So I'm going to move on to the next one. You don't have to spend grueling hours trying to figure it out, trying to, fit the square peg in a round hole. If it doesn't work, if there's not much, to it, or either rephrase the question, go down a little bit of a different path if you still want to hang on to that, or abandon it and move on to something else. But again, whatever you're working on, the process is the same. All right, we got the A4 scales here. All right, stop Charlie elected on that one, so that was a decent trade. So that last one is always kind of can be a throwaway for the most part. The other three paid for that as well. So we're good, hanging in there. Yeah, you could frame it out that way. Remember, the frame out of the sandbox is really at your discretion. Okay, remember the sandbox is, is movable. So if we get the low here at 56, the high there at 73. Okay, and again, that could be, a frame out for you. All right, your A10 is scaling now. Unbelievable. All right, the auto stop now is in place. And just let that run its course. Let's change. All right, all right. All right, so price still hovering around that 56 area, retesting that once again. All right, again, short of 810 playing out. Looks like 810's been hitting on all cylinders today. And so now what do the bulls need to do, right? Bulls need to reclaim the prior low at minimum. All right, and of course the bears, right, simply want to do the opposite, right? They want to keep it below that low and force long liquidation. That's the game plan for both sides. I can't read that. Okay. Let me see if I can do this. History. Select accounts. It's not going to work. All right. Choose a date range. Select order date range 19. Okay, 519. Alright, doesn't help me. Uh, All right, guys, I'm gonna be closing out the stream here. We're coming on to 11 o'clock, and the A10 just got the stop trail just got elected. All right, so that will more likely conclude this morning's stream recording. I guess we had some decent trades there for everyone, whether it was the A10 or an A4 or an ATR, 100% ATR off 56s, or the D level. D level played out as well for those playing D level. Did get back to the prior low. All right, for first target if you're playing on the D level. All right, so those played out pretty well. And yeah, so I think we'll conclude there for today. Carry on if you're going to be trading further, but we'll shut the stream down here. As McGarrett used to say on Hawaii 5-0, book 'em, Dano. All right, so we'll see everybody again tomorrow's stream. Be sure to check out the recordings on the website. Remember, I'm only saving his 5 days back. So if you want to, if there's something that you found interesting in a particular day, morning session that was recorded, you should be able to download it from YouTube onto your local drive for further review. So when you go watch it on YouTube, again, there should be a selection to download, and it should allow you to download. Let me know if anybody has any issues if they're trying to download it, but it should be available to download. So, all right, we'll see everybody tomorrow, and have a good rest of your day.